Everyone talks about the word love, right? You hear the word love in pretty much everyday conversation, in the sense that all you need is love. Love is the answer to everything. But there are different forms of love. Today, we're going to look at the deepest type of love that anyone can have, which is divine love. There are different types of love, but we're literally going to look at divine love, because love is love is universal. True love is universal. And why is this important? Because looking at the world today, the state of the world and the conditions of the world and the conflicts between different people in the world, conflicts between people in different religions, just so many conflicts that have been going on for a very long time. And love conquers all. Love is something that will unite everyone and unite humanity, where it's not based on divisions, because of skin color, because of, status in life, because I belong to a group of people in a religion, different denominations, people fighting over territory, fighting over land. There's just so much hate and chaos and so much things that are going on our planet, in the world right now. And the solution is love, not any type of love, because when we say divine love, we're talking about love that is unconditional love, right? So when people find themselves in a situation where, let's say there's a catastrophe, a tsunami, an earthquake, tornado, flood, whatever, where you have people in a community, you see how they very quickly forget about, the things that divide them, right? They come together because now, if everyone's lost their home, if everyone's lost their belongings, then people start to realize the things that really matter in life. Okay, so what they do is they huddle together, they may go to a shelter, and then people around the world, regardless of what religious beliefs they have, they start to provide aid. They send food, they send blankets, they send basically anything that will assist, like what's happening right now. Jamaica has currently just had a hurricane, which has devastated many people and ruined communities. We can go all around the world and look at what's happening in Sudan, look at what's happening in Ukraine, look at what's happening in Russia, look at what's happening in Israel and Palestine. All around the world, people that are facing all kinds of difficulties, the one thing that rises above everything is love. And not any type of love, because we know you can have love that is based on lust, okay? Love that's based on lust or desires, in terms of selfishness, what you want. And when people use the word love, a lot of the times in just everyday conversation, like, oh, I love you, which is really a love for like your companion, but it's really based on, I love you because there's a condition to it. I love you because you're pretty. I love you because you cook for me. I love you because you're my wife. I love you because you're my husband. I love you because of something. There's a condition that's normally attached to that love. This love that we're talking about is universal love, and it's represented by this symbol. Okay, this is universal love, and it's represented by this symbol. Okay, this symbol actually spells the word love in every language. And that's what I mean by universal. One love that transcends people, places, and things, divisions. It's that part of you that's still able to have empathy, still able to rise above the divisions, all right? And this love, this universal love, we call ashuk. 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 That's divine love in our language, Miss Batia. The tone, the vibration, and the frequency of words is so important because when you utter tones, they send out vibration. And if these tones are intentional and truthful, they will resonate with beings. So when we say ashok, we're talking about divine love. And universal love is what we need right now in this world. When you look at this symbol, I said to you, it actually is a universal symbol of love. And if you look carefully, you can actually see the words love, right? This shows you the L. So we're going to take, I'll show you how we're going to take the letters of the word love. So if we looked at this symbol, right, and took the L, right, you see the L right there, yeah. Let me see if I can use another color, which will help emphasize it. So you're literally taking this symbol and finding the parts of it that form the word love. Okay, so the next letter is O. You can see that clearly. You can see that clearly right there. Yeah. And then the V, okay, the V, you can also see, if we put the V, right, the V, you can see like, kind of like that, yeah, which is there again, but just turned that way. So it's the L, but you can see the V. And then finally, the E is there. So then you can put that E, okay. Now, when I say it's universal, I truly mean universal. And I'll show you how every word that you can think of in a language. So that was English, right? Now let's take Spanish, for example. So again, the word for love in Spanish is what? Amor. A-M-O-R. Yeah? Again, you can see if we took that symbol, you can see how this with this part will form, yeah, will form the letters of this word, right? So let's say this is going to be like the A. You see it there? So that will be A. And then the M, which will be that for the M, which again, you can see there like that. See the M? And then the O, again, the O is right there. And then um, the R. Okay, so the R, you would have to, um, turn it that way to see the R. All right, I'm going to demonstrate this. So it will be it's like you have to be able to see the symbol um, in each letter. All right. So the R will be like that. So the idea is to be able to see the symbol being utilized in each of these letters. Yeah. So if I was to give you a good example, so if you took out if you wanted to look at this A, you would have to see that the symbol, this symbol, would kind of be upside down. So you would have, let me see if I can do it. You see it? So that you then form the, I could have turned it slightly horizontally so that you can see the A, which is, if I use another color, where you can see this A right there. So that would be the A. So what I'm basically saying that if you look at different words in different languages, such as English, love, Spanish, amor, French, amor, with it's the same as that but with a U instead. Italian, amor, which is AMORE. Latin, AMO. Portuguese, AMOR. German would be like libre, if I'm pronouncing that properly, LIEBRE. Swahili will be pendo. And again, you can see the symbol within when you spell out the word. Greek, you have agapao, AGAPAO. In Hebrew is ahaba. And Arabic, of course, is HUBB, hub. And the actual symbol itself is called hua. Yeah, and for those who study Arabic, you can see that hua actually translate as oh he who he is. Okay, so just to break down this universal symbol of love, this was a symbol that we used from the get-go when the master teacher Parnabab Yanun came on the scene, and he had that on our flags. So for example, you can see that was one of the flags we used in the past, and the same with that one. Yeah, you always saw the hua symbol, in there. And when you say hua, here, reflect, relating to gender in Arabic. So today's breakdown is really about love and why we use this symbol, why you used to see this symbol and we still have that symbol on our, we still have it in different parts of our culture and our doctrine. So the master is explaining why we use the symbol, and he says the answer is quite simple. A miraculous event occurred. The symbol appeared and was put on the flag before I recognized what it was. It initiated the start of our own language. Okay, so we went through different metamorphoses in terms of the language with what is referred as Nubic, which is the script of the symbol, right? This script was a symbol from the script Nubic of, as I said, universal love. When we say universal, obviously we're saying that we're dealing with the universe. So we're transcending just the mundane things on this one planet. It goes beyond this. goes to the cosmos. So that symbol represents universal love. And love can be found within the scriptures, and it can be found in all languages. It's just that today people have been dumbed down to the point where real love, real true love, real ashuk, real unconditional love is something that seems to be becoming more uncommon as people become more and more desensitized to the conditions of the world. So one was sent to come. So one of the things that people hear and know about us as Sabians and Nuwapians is the fact that we have our own language. And that in itself, to many people, it's a miracle. And it's because this universal language, the original language on the planet, is necessary in this day and time. And the being that was sent to come with this love, okay, is Parnabab Yanun Dr. Malachi Z. York. And it's a type of love that, you know, as it says even in the Bible, as I just mentioned, that you hear the quote, "For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son," right? When they're talking about Jesus in the Bible. The love that you really have, if you really love to that extent, you shouldn't really be sacrificing or sending your son to do something that you can do as a father or as a real loving savior. Yeah, because if there's danger and you need to be saved from that danger, you don't put your son in harm's way. You don't put your son to be the victim, to be sacrificed. And the point of that is to show ultimate love. Don't know about you, but that type of love, it's like, really? Is that what you call ultimate love? To have somebody unalived, and in the way that it was done as well, you know, to be, you know, spat on, wear crowns of thorn, you know, being stabbed, tied on a cross, and yeah, it was carrying a very heavy cross anyway. And they repeat this every Easter. You see religious people, especially Christians, reenact this suffering as if it's a positive thing, because they're saying that it was the ultimate sacrifice to remove sin from the world. But then when we start to look at this and analyze it, because it's easy to say something, but then when you start to scrutinize and analyze it and say, does it make sense? And I know Christians will say, well, anything that God does makes sense and he can do anything he wants. But then if you have a mind and you've been given a mind to think for yourself and to analyze things, you know, don't make common sense on something that is logical, illogical, because higher intelligence will tell you that to be logical makes more sense than to be illogical. Like, you can't then say, if God has the capacity, or Allah, whatever name you want to use, to describe the ultimate being that has the highest level of intelligence, the highest power, potency, whatever term you want to use to describe how powerful this being is, you cannot then say that he wouldn't think in the most logical way. So if he has the power to click his fingers and change things for the better, if he has the power to say, I want to get rid of all the evil, right? All the chaos on the planet. If indeed you say he does, and the Bible and the Quran and these religious books claim that he does. If he doesn't do that, yes, you may make excuses and say, well, he can do what he likes, but it doesn't make sense. If he can remove sin from the world, if he can get rid of all these disasters that are going on around the world, all the diseases, the conflicts, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, all the wickedness on the planet, if he can do that, the question would be, why not? And to say it's a test doesn't make sense either, because the purpose of a test is for someone to know the outcome. So if you already know the outcome, the test becomes null and void. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, you can't say the ultimate love is to go through pain and sacrifice and be unalived. And this is something that has been normalized in this society, where people would see suffering and not having as it's okay to be deprived, not to have the basic necessities in life. And you're doing that because you believe, right? You believe, not that you know for sure, you actually believe that someone, yeah, you actually believe, if you want to spell it like that, or belief, which is what religions are based on, right? To have an opinion. Having an opinion and a belief doesn't make it true, doesn't make it factual. And you believe that by suffering and not having wealth, material gains, that you're going to inherit or get all of this, right? When you go to a place called heaven, which is promised to you. And a promise is a comfort to a fool, right? Because no one has been there and come back and proven that it exists. Yes, you will have people online that have out of body experiences and may have visited different realms or dimensions more appropriately, and then they give you or relay their experience, but that's just their experience, right? And not many people have. These are, in terms of when you look at the planet of some nearly 8 billion people, how many have actually had that experience? But the point being that the description of this place in heaven, in the Bible and the Quran and the monotheistic religions books, what they describe is something you can find right here on earth. Okay? So the point of being the ultimate sacrifice to remove sin from the world, but yet there's still so much chaos, sins, rapes, murders, as I said, catastrophes, earthquakes, tornadoes. Look what's going on in Jamaica right now. So yeah, that's not love. That is something that when you look at someone that they claim is adverse to God, all right? Yeah, so God is supposed to be someone that is in heaven, and then hell, which is down here, according to the same books, is where the evil one, or if you just add the D to the end of that, right? The evil one, the devil, he's down there. And again, this defies logic. And I'm showing you how this holds you back from your successes that you should be having in this life. The wealth, the health, everything that is supposed to be good Just add another O to this. You know, religion makes you think it's okay not to have, it's okay to suffer, it's okay for you to be on the lowest terms of society. But yet, when you look at this, there's something wrong with it, because all the people that have the money and the riches and the big cars and the big houses and the status, etc., etc., these are all people that do a lot of devilish things based on the society. So how is it that here on this earth, you look at, you know, you can just go on the news, the people that are in the highest positions, that they have all the money, the wealth, the status, but yet they're not godly. And this is found, if you look at John 8:44, we'll look at that. It's explaining that, you know, these people, the Satanists, the people that do a lot of the evils on the planet, they have all the good wealth and material and the money and everything. And then the people that are suffering to go to heaven, and they're so religious, so faithful, full of faith, and they are the ones that don't have anything. It's back to front. But it's all based on a promise, a belief that they're going to go to heaven. And then when they get to heaven, they're going to have what? Milk, honey, gardens, maidens. What else do they promise you in heaven? These are all things you can find right here on earth. So there is a spell that is being enforced for people to live in a state that is not right, that is wrong, that is based on poverty, based on being homeless. And all you have to do is believe that someday you're going to be taken to heaven. But remember, this was supposed to have already taken place with the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice of God sacrificing his son. Okay? So, like I was saying, the universal language of love is what we're going to be dealing with today. So, there are many people that are devils, whether they are black, white, yellow, green, purple. They are doing the devilishness and the devilishment on the planet. And we can overturn all of that. We can conquer that with love, with universal love. Okay? And this symbol, as I mentioned, when you look at the word Hua, you see the word who. And who ties into Egypt. Because ultimately, everything always somehow ends up back in Egypt as the cradle of civilization, the most knowledgeable people on the planet, the ones that had everything. You know, they had a thriving society to the point where everyone was seeking refuge in Egypt. Until this day, the pyramids have mystified the greatest of minds. In the Bible, Joseph had to take refuge in Egypt whenever there was famine, okay? And so Egypt is in the east, and we are here in this hemisphere in the west. So Joseph had to run to Egypt. Moses, Egypt. He was brought up in Egypt. You know the story of Moses being found in a basket and all of that. Abraham went to Egypt. Jesus, when Herod was killing all the male that male children that were being born, he also what? Took Joseph and Mary took him and they went to Egypt. And in Egypt, right, these Egyptians are called gods, Egyptian gods, the pharaohs, etc. And who was the what? The god of creative will. And when you look at this who, when you study languages, you see that this I is a vowel, right? You know, from the A, E, I, O, and the U. And these can be interchangeable. So that HU can also be what? HE. He. Oh, he who he is. And we say who, which is the force of creative will, right? And that's what you're seeing here with this hu or hua. And even when you go into the deep studies of the planet when it was being birthed, you hear ho ho or hu, yeah, meaning it was void. But anyway, the word hua stands for the sacred name of this being known as the Egyptian god of creative will. Because why is creative will so important? Because you can create anything you will, and it can be manifested once you put that thought with backed up by the intentions and then enforced with love, with divine love, with this ashuk that we're talking about. And I already showed you, and we can show you how each one of the words that represent love in any language is based on the symbol of Hua. Now, when you look at this HE, what do you see also? You see the periodic table, as in helium. Helium. Because obviously, H1, H2, when we look at the periodic table, we're looking at components of how how this world was composed and came about. Okay, so looking at this periodic table, you can see, what do you see? You see H1 here, and the next thing after that on this side is helium, which are noble, right? Noble gases. So the noble gases, you can see helium right there. No coincidence. Okay? So we're going to look at what is real love and what is the significance of someone coming to this planet who is supposed to be the ultimate example of love, right? What do they do? And what effects do they have or should have on your life? Because that type of love is the type of love that many are missing today. And we need to get back to that. That's what this video is about. It's about universal love. We say in our language, ashuk. And the beings that tap into that love, they are at a higher vibration, and they recognize that type of love, that type of energy is what is needed to heal yourself from the inside out, and to heal all those around you, and to heal the planet, and ultimately for us to return to that divine part of us that is necessary to live through what this world is going through the changes that are taking place, you know. And if you haven't watched the video on timeline of existence, because we cover from the beginnings, not just 6,000 years ago, of the last moon cycle, right? From around 4,000 or 4004 BCE to the year 2000. Yeah, this is what gives you the last 6,000 years. And when you look at the cycle of existence, yeah. So I did a one rotation, and the cycle of life continues. But the way to explain it simply is it takes 24,000 years for one rotation. And this is based on, when you break it to 6,000 years, each of these quarters, you add them all together, right? When you start here and you go 6,000 years, 6,000 years, 6,000 years, 6,000 years, it just so happens that the year 2000 AD was the end of this last 6,000 years, which can be broken into 1,000 years each, right? So if you split this into 6, but the last 2,000, which would be here, years, brought us to the year 2000 AD, because you're going from around here, which will be 4,000, right? 4,000 BC, or before the Christian era, right? So that's BC, and this is AD. So 4,000 years prior to this 2,000 years, because we started counting the AD calendar from what? 1 AD. Yeah. And going backwards, we're going to before Christ. So this 6,000 years of the 24,000 years, if you go the full rotation, ended there. And now we're starting a new 24,000 year cycle where everything has to change. So we're here in 2025. Yeah. So we're already 25 years into this new cycle from the year 2000 AD. Yeah. So this new cycle that is outside of this original one, if I just do that to put this outside. So what you're seeing is this first quarter of the outer circle, right? It's the new beginning of this cycle we're in right now. So we're moving into 2030, where a lot of changes are going to take place that we're experiencing now. Why there is so much built up of conflicts, wars. You're going to see, as we've been seeing, disasters, catastrophes. You're going to see all these things that are taking place because this change is happening to remove the hate, the chaos, the devil, basically, the evil ones, to remove them off the planet. But it starts with universal love. And if you have that type of love within you, you can't really be negative, you know, because that part of you is the divine. Because remember, it tells you that God breathed into man, and man became what? A living soul. So you are actually a living soul if you have one. If you don't have a soul, or your soul is not activated, then remember, soul was originally spelt like that, but can be spelt now the way most people spell it, with the extra U in there. And it related to solar, right? Solar. Solar relates to the sun. And in the books of Malachi chapter 4, let me pull it up. I mean, you can use any tool, but I use this Blue Letter Bible, quite good. So if you just go in there, type Malachi 4, and read verse 2. And you have to start to study and break meanings of words down, because you don't see it, you don't see the full picture in the English, but you can see here it says, unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, look how son is spelled, S-U-N, the Son of Righteousness. This is talking, remember the books of Malachi, or the book of Malachi is the last book in the Old Testament, and it's talking about at the end of the world, just like the book of Revelations is the last book in the New Testament. This is explaining what will happen, during the end of the world, to bring about this new world that's going to be based on love. Divine love is going to be based on those who make it. Because if you have hate and you have all these lower vibrations, the 9 mental diseases to do with hate, to do with anger, to do with lust, to do with greed, to deal with jealousy, all of these things are going to mean that you're not going to make it to the next world, to this new cycle known as the sun cycle, right? Everything we're teaching you is very real, very real. But some are waking up. And when you say righteousness, you're dealing with being fair, right? These are the principles of Ma'at in ancient Egypt, again, where even you're told in religion where your heart is weighed against the scales to see if you have a shuk, if you have divine love within you, or do you suffer from these mental diseases that I've mentioned? Because if you don't have that divine love, how do you manifest success, health, wealth, and all the goodness and the things that you should have as a divine being? So righteousness, the Son of Righteousness, as it says in Malachi, will arise with healing in its wings, because many people need to be healed. They need to be healed because this last 6,000 years, right, was a moon cycle. Yeah, the moon cycle is ruled by the absence of light or divine sunshine, the absence. And because during that time it was ruled by 6 ether forces, yeah, the moon cycle is ruled by 6 ether forces, and those 6 ether forces have been the ones that have subjected the world to the pain and all the problems that we're facing on the world, in the world today. And when you go into this new cycle, right, this new cycle is based on 9 ether, and 9 ether is the true divine love by way of natural nature. So no matter who you are on the planet, these changes are actually taking place. The earth is transforming because the earth is also a living entity, and it's transforming, and it affects, just like the moon affects, the moon is really known as lunar, right, originally. Because again, the AR, but you've got the lunar, which relates to the word lunatic. Yeah. We know that the moon, as a satellite of the planet, with the tides pulling, and it affects the planet and it affects your mental state. This is why, when women are going through their menstrual cycles, they have different emotions that they have to deal with. And the lunar tick is a state of mind, right? An unstable state of mind, which, remember, mind governs everything. Your mind is responsible for how you deal with situations, how you think, how you vibrate, and how you give off a certain type of energy. Yeah, positive or negative. So as we're in the sun cycle, the sun is responsible for life, not death. Yeah. During the moon cycle is when things die, as in, if you even just look at it from the seasons perspective, where you have summer and then you have winter, right? The two extremes. Obviously, in between, before we go back into summer, we go to spring, and as we're going into winter, we go into autumn. But the two main opposing forces are summer and winter. You see the leaves on the trees; they all start to fall down. The greenery goes. It's a little bit more morbid, and just like in the countries where there's a lot of cold climate, you're going to get a lot of snow, maybe winter, ice, and it's not as conducive for certain types of people who need the sun. Mainly melanite. This is what's happening now, where this change is taking place. Yes, so the Son of Righteousness is coming with his healing in his wings, and as it says, carrying on to Malachi 4:3, and you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. In the day that I shall do this, says the Lord of hosts. Yeah. And it says, carries on, it goes, behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the what? The great and dreadful day of the Lord. So that's Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Very important. Now, this is taking place right now. When it says Elijah, the Elijah being referred to here is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. So Elijah has come. And then after Elijah, it says what? The great and dreadful day of the Lord. So now you see hurricanes, you see tsunamis, you see tornadoes, you see all of this is happening. And this is the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And you see people that everything has been taken away. Their house is gone. They've lost all their belongings. They're pretty much destitute. And they still say, thank God or thank Jesus that I'm alive. Right? And you say to yourself, or even when like mosques or whatever get blown up, you say to yourself, well, where was God? Where was Allah? Where was Yahweh? Where were these beings when this was taking place? But the people that are dealing with belief and faith, right? Remember, faith, Faith, is completely separate from fate. And this is what the devil does, is he makes evil fair seeming. He turns life into death, because this is what these beings, evil beings, they thrive on this. they make evil fair seeming, right? So it's very subtle, but when you make evil, fair seeming, it's technology. It's to have you thinking one way when you should be thinking the other way. So instead of going this way, they would definitely make you go, sorry, the other way around. Instead of going this way, they will make you go the other way. When you start to look at everything in life, whether you're dealing with life and sun to death and moon, because the moon it's a lunar, so it deals with the lunar plex, right? Whereas the sun deals with the solar plex. You're gonna have to the solar plex. This is important because when we're talking about this divine love, universal love, you have to activate that chakra or that seat called the solar plexus. That's like in winter, you've got to, if you got one of those, remember those the chimney, and you got to ignite the light to get the fire to warm up the house, that's the same. Your body is a temple. You have an altar within your body. You have the fire, a real life fire. Why? When you breathe in oxygen, right? You breathe in oxygen. Again, remember we just looked at the periodic table. Yeah. Number 8. Look, oxygen. When you breathe in oxygen, you burn and give out what? Carbon dioxide. Yeah. So this is all dealing with science, is dealing with you as an electromagnetic semiconductor being. Okay. So you have to put all this into perspective when we're saying the beings that have no soul, it's because their solar plexus is not lit. And you can have a soul, but it can be dimmed or inactive. So it has to be activated. And one has to come to do this to show you this divine love that you have. But there is now a definite falling away, or the exchange of you going in one direction or the other. So where I was saying evil is made fair seeming, fate is replaced by faith, ghosts, right? Because ghosts relate to death, right? Ghosts are replaced by spirit, yeah. Good people are made to feel like there's something wrong with them for having empathy, for having compassion, for having love, for doing goodness in the world. And it's okay for them to not have and to be tricked, to be poor, to starve, to suffer, all in the name of waiting for someone to come and save them when they can save themselves. So we're going to tap into that real you, the divine you, that is a part of you. And for some, they have been let down for so long, where they don't know what's what anymore. 6,000 years of being under the spell, being under the lunatic mind state by beings that don't have no soul, that don't really know what it means to love, to have divine love. And when people get disillusioned and they just feel like they've been lied to. Yeah. They've been lied to for so long. They're like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. They need to know the truth, because this truth is what's going to what? Don't say set you free, it's going to make you free, because you make yourself free by the things you do, by applying Wu-Sabat that activates your soul and makes you know what's right from wrong. Because remember this, in the Bible, in the garden, the point is that they tell you that the so-called serpent, even though there's no such word as serpent, it's been again a trick, because it says the whisperer. That's the word nakash or nakas. It means a whisperer, somebody that was passing secrets, or when you whisper something, it's because you don't want maybe everybody to hear. So this being was trying to wake these newly so-called children in the garden, Adam and Eve, trying to wake them up to tell them the truth, because they're being blinded by the light, okay, the chaos. And he was telling them that, look, this God that you're talking about, yeah, this God, again, I said, you think you're calling on a good God, but really, this God, if you look at his actions, or whatever name, Allah, etc., in the books, he's not good. You don't sacrifice people, request for sacrifices, request for blood sacrifices. You like the thirst of blood. You like to, basically be pleased. You have these mental diseases like jealousy, to say don't have any other gods but me alone. Don't worship anyone else but me. You destroy things, animals, people, women, children. It just goes on and on and on. And yet you've been fooled to think that this is a good God. That's not good God. The gods of ancient Egypt, the true gods that had creative will, the creativity that you're able to bring joy by way of music, the seven liberal sciences, like you bring joy, you bring love, you bring music, you bring entertainment, you bring things that have soul to the world, not things that make the world a worse place to live in, like colonization, like wars, like subjugation, having people that have and those that don't have, you know, creating diseases, poisoning the waters. Your actions don't reflect the peace and tranquility and the safety that the ancient Egyptians had, where everybody was seeking refuge and running to Egypt for salvation. So what does having this divine love means? It means that when you come into the world, you have a major impact on people's lives as a Messiah, as an anointed one, right? Someone who is the personification of divine love, the one that is able to come down himself because he cares, because he wants our salvation. He wants to save us from the madness that we've been facing for 6,000 years. And it's not a being that sends his son. He comes himself. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about our Messiah. Because when people say the Messiah, right? The Christ or Christos, they talk about it. When you put the in front of it, it makes it sound like there's only one, because you're dealing with the definite article. The Bible, the Quran, yeah? The Messiah. When that means if you don't subscribe to or accept that Bible, that Quran, that book, which is out of date, because there are many things that have happened that we live in everyday life that are not in the Bible or the Quran, all these old books that are really plagiarized from ancient Sumerian texts. Now, because they don't have information about AI, about, you know, the blockchain and Bitcoin and the internet and all these things that we actually living in, they're out of date. They don't have answers for many things. So the being that comes now, many races, cultures have had their own warners and messiahs. Because as I said, the word Messiah, if you go and research it, many people were referred to as messiahs over the years, which just means anointed. So the Romans and the Greeks had their Messiah, you know, the Hindus had theirs, even down to in more recent times when we refer to Marcus Garvey, for example, we say he's referred to as a Messiah. The word Messiah was used throughout time. So now in this day and time, this being that's here, sent to our race, but for the whole of humanity, if they choose to be able to be humble enough to receive the good news. Because most of the time when these beings come, they have such an impact on the world. Like today, that word Jesus, the Messiah, is used worldwide. Okay? But as I said, there are different ones that have come. And the one that is here right now for the black race is the black Messiah, right? The black Messiah is here, Parnabab Yanun, the savior for our race, because he has come to save those who have love in their hearts. Doesn't matter who you are on the planet, right? Just like today, many people call on the name Jesus, and they are from different races, different colors, different skin types, because during that time, he made such an impact that till this day, he's still spoken about. But we're in a different day and time now, and people don't realize because of their differences, because of their racism, because this being has to come in their color, in their image, in their likeness. So if anyone comes that doesn't fit that bill, they automatically reject him. But if you're dealing with divine love, universal love, it shouldn't matter. It's does the works, does the things they do they have a positive and a major impact in your life and in the world? Does it? That's all that matters. So when I'm talking about these, the opposite, the evil ones, the ones that are doing all the crazy things on the planet, you read about this in the prophetic book people know as the book of Revelations. And it talks about the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Okay. And we had a bulletin out called the 7 heads and the 10 horns. So the 7 heads consist of the most powerful nations of the world. And they're known as, these are the people that meet, the G7, G8, and they meet up, right? This is dealing with England, Russia, France, Germany, Spain, China, and the United States. These major powers have conspired the New World Order. This means total establishment, dictators, civil rights revoked, one control bank. So buying and selling will be controlled, traveling anywhere will be monitored, and there will be a cashless society, which has already come into effect, meaning that cash is being slowly, right? Slowly eliminated. And this is why you move from cash to cards. Yeah? Cards like the American Express, the MasterCards, and the main one dealing with this 60th of force was what? Visa. This, you look at it properly, you see VI. 6. That's the Roman numeral for 6. VI. Then you look at the 6. This S relates to sigma, okay? And you have to study, like when you look at words, you're really looking at symbols that you're calling letters, and these symbols or these letters, they represent something. You see that snake, that serpent, right? Because when you look at the serpent 6, you see the S, the serpent 6, 6, 6. This is the abjad. That's what I'm saying. When you study each letter, this is going to be ab. Research it. Do some research. Abjad. Each letter has a numerical value, and the value of A is 6, as is these other ones. But it's done in symbols. It's done in a way that you may not pick it up. So you wouldn't have probably seen this word, visa. You probably didn't see as VI, S, and A, because it's all hidden in plain sight. Yeah. So we move from cash to cards, but credit cards and debit cards, they all have that mark on it, right? And you carry that mark on you all the time when you carry your card. But what happened is a lot of fraud, yeah, on credit cards. They don't really tell you, but there's so much fraud that takes place with credit cards, and you can lose it. It can be bent, it can be broken. So making evil face seeming is the next thing is, oh, let's put chips in you instead of you carrying the card around, because the chip is already on the card, right? This is why, it was referred to as your pin or your chip. And that has evolved now to where you don't even need to carry the card anymore. You can have either have the chip inserted into you. And again, this has already been rolled out many, many years ago, where animals or cars and possessions are now chipped with these chips, so that they say this is how it's sold. If your pet goes missing, the satellite will pick up the chip and locate by satellite navigation where your lost one. And then it moves from animals to children to cars to everything. And it's the whole thing about problem, reaction, solution. Problem, you introduce a problem, and then you come and you say, let's see how that problem makes people's lives hell or misery, right? The way people react to it. Then what do? You offer the solution, and everyone looks at you like, wow, you're such a great person because you solved our problem, which you introduced in the first place. So you create the problem and just wait for people to react, and then you offer the solution. So the problem in this case might be, oh, you're going to lose your card. Anyone can get hold of your card, and you're going to be defrauded. And so let's put the chip inside you. And then you say, yeah, and you react to that. And then they go, oh, the solution is, what if we put the chip inside of you? Because, no one's going to know where it is. It's just on your hand or on your forehead, perhaps. So that when you walk, something can beam, picks you up. Maybe even you pay for your transactions. Don't believe me. Go and check this out. This has already been rolled out in cities that are being designed from scratch, smart cities, etc., that are being designed with the implementation of this world order. So the cashless society is moving into what? What's next after the chip? Blockchain. Yeah? Crypto. Cryptocurrencies. I swear, the games that are played are just such. When your eyes are open, you see things so clearly. Credit card becomes, so remember, credit card, CC, chips, then becomes cryptocurrency, CC. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, so the cashless society is also in effect. And another way they refer to this is called the big brother. Big brother. And what is a big brother? What does that, when you think of a big brother, it's like someone that what's going to look after you, right? If you're the little brother, or the big brother is going to take care of things. So you go back, read George Orwell's book, 1984, and read what that's literally what we're talking about. So it's very crucial that these seven heads and 10 horns, that are actually dealing with controlling, you know, economic power. You get sanctions, so you can't buy or sell. And once money is taken out of circulation, and you now have what they call them now, CBDCs. CBDC, right? C again, CC, central bank digital currencies. Current and currency. It's now current in this day and time. And current, what does current refer to? A flow of energy. It's a currency. Look at how electricity works. All right. So this is the time that you have to tap into. You have to tap into everything to do with love, because love conquers all. All we need is love. Many songs talk about love. But as I said, do not be fooled to ignore or not to discern the love using evil to be made fair seeming when you spell it backwards. EVOL. Evil. Evil. Remember what I said? AEIOU. Evil. Spelling love backwards, that deals with a different type of love, right? It spells evil because the O is still it can be replaced by the I, the E, the IO, basically the vowels, yeah? So you might say evil is not spelt with an I, as in there, but vowels are interchangeable, especially when you study linguistics and study languages. So the type of love that is being pushed is evil love, not, again, look at this, devil. Devil, instead of you live, you're dying. Live. I've just spelled evil again the other way, right? So I took the E, the V, going this way. So instead of being evil, you should be living in a peaceful, harmonious abundance, because the planet has everything we need. But because of the control of the people that deal with this mental diseases of greed, of anger, of jealousy, yeah, they want to control every aspect of your life and keep you under their control, right? They want the whole world under their control. And they're telling you it's new. Mr. The R. A new world order. This is the order of things to come. The only thing that's going to help you is to tap into your divine love. And then you resonate and vibrate on a higher vibration, on a higher frequency that deals with transformation into nine ether, and that will help you in this new world to come. All right. So Partner Babylon is here. What is divine love? Divine love is to tap into yourself. He's here. He's the ultimate example of divine love. And as usual, look at all the people that come, how they face adversity. Because these other beings that are doing the opposite, they don't, of course, they don't want that, because it's going to change their world. It's going to take away their control. It's going to stop them being able to continue what they are doing, to bamboozle the world, to have you maimed, to have your eye closed, so that they can literally do whatever they like, if you let them. But this being is here, and all eyes shall behold, because we are living in the new cycle, and the Savior, the Black Messiah, is here. Is here. He is who he is, bringing that helium. He who he is. He is who he is, bringing that sun of righteousness, that helium that will heal you if you take heed and if you recognize the power of the sun. Not the fake sun, not the SON sun, that fake sun that they're trying to push, but the SUN sun, the sun of righteousness. And they're pushing that sun because they don't want you to know and see the truth. But the sun of righteousness is here with healing in his wing to transform us. So tap into that solar plexus. So Wu-Sabat will help you activate and will help you regain your power as a supreme being, to reactivate your higher senses, so that you can be amongst those whose names can be entered into the book of life.